Welcome to the Just Live podcast. I am your host, Olivia Stevens, and I'm inviting you in on my personal journey of learning and discovering how to live a life with more connection, joy, and purpose. I'll be sitting down with people from all walks of life to dive into topics including trauma, mental health, mindfulness, the nuances of love and relationships, and much more. I hope these conversations empower you to expand on what serves you, release what doesn't, and just live. Okay, here we are. Whoa, there we go. I moved. Yes, so I've been a little MIA with the podcast because I've been moving. But I figured it's been long enough since I've put an episode out, and I want to keep it rolling and keep it moving and keep it growing. So I figured I would take some time today and sit down and talk about what's been going on. And it felt weird to maybe like sit at the desk that I normally sit at. I feel like that's kind of like the only option I had where I was, and now I'm like, you know what, this is my space. I'm just going to be comfortable and do what feels good, and today that is sitting here on my couch, my beige couch. So yeah, a lot has happened since the last episode I put out, obviously in a new space. For anyone that didn't listen to any previous episodes, I went through a breakup, had to move home, lived there for 10 months, and now I am here in my own apartment again, back in the city. So obviously a lot of change and healing and growth, a lot of pain, and a lot of good things came from those 10 months that I was back home. And now it's a new chapter. So I'm excited to see what's next, but I'm also excited to just be and to take it all in and to just be in my own space again and to kind of experience that. I'm not exactly sure what I want to talk about today. Obviously, there's stuff that came up with moving. It was really weird. Obviously, I wanted to find my own space for a while, living at home with your parents, as as many pros as there are also cons. And I was itching to get back into my own space. And so my friend Mike actually found this place. I'm so thankful. And anyway, signed a lease and did a walkthrough. Was, slowly kind of packing stuff up the weeks leading up to my lease start date. I didn't really have that much stuff to move. I didn't take a whole lot with me when I left my other house. And so was just kind of slowly packing things here and there. And then the night before I was set to move, I was a emotional wreck. And I wasn't really sure why all these like negative feelings were coming up. You would think that I would be so like happy and excited and like, oh my God, tomorrow's moving day. Like I can't wait. And I'm not sure what was going on, but like the night before the move, I just couldn't stop crying, and it wasn't like happy tears. It was like sadness and grief and fear and anxiety, just like all coming to the surface. And I don't know what it was, if it was just like the realization that like everything that happened, with the breakup and moving out of the home I bought, it was maybe like the realization that was like real and solidified, and like I'm moving on with my life like alone and like starting a new chapter by myself. I don't know if like that all kind of came to the surface and like that's why I was crying so much, or if it was just like the like child in me feeling like, oh, I'm leaving home, I'm leaving the nest, like I'm starting out in this new place and like the unknown. I feel like that was coming up. I think it was like a combination of a lot of things. And I tried not to get too like hard or down on myself for feeling sad versus feeling excited for moving, because I was like, this clearly needs to come up and this needs to move through me. So I've been trying more and more as I like become more like open and accepting of my emotions, to just kind of let them process and let them arise and just witness them versus fighting them. So that's kind of what I had to do. And even the day of the move, I mean, I was still a mess and still crying, and which kind of made it sad because I wanted it to be a happy day. But I think that instead of forcing like emotions like that and just like, you know, masking like the real emotions with this like positivity, I just had to let it all come what wanted to come. And luckily, like later in the day, I think once I got here and I moved my stuff in, I think I felt a lot more relief. And then I saw my friends and they got to come here and see it for the first time, and they were so supportive and happy and excited for me. So I think that that helped a lot. So I guess, I mean, this all happened, I want to say, like, what is today? 2 weeks ago. Today? No. Well, yeah, 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it was June 1st. So today's the 14th. Whatever. Anyway, so it's been 2 weeks since I've moved. Obviously, things are still kind of a little chaotic, but also in the midst of like moving chaos, there's like an incredible sense of peace that I feel that I'm so grateful for. Like just being in your own space and like having like the literally peace and quiet, and I can just kind of like move and flow as I want to and need to. And I have a lot of alone time, which is nice, and time to just like continue to process like feelings that have been coming up and all of that. Because I know that like with the move, there was a lot of like sadness, because it was like, okay, here we go again, moving and, you know, starting over. I feel like I've moved a lot in the last couple years, and it's like, I feel like part of me just like really wants like to be still and like feel settled. And so I feel like hopefully I can feel that way here for a little while. But the last 2 weeks, yeah, it's been like unpacking and buying furniture and buying towels and utensils and toilet paper and getting a TV hung and waiting for like my bed to be delivered and the mattress, and the couch luckily came and was here the day I moved in. So that was amazing. But I kind of like found myself in this like frenzy, and it was just a very like kind of rush, anxious, like, oh my gosh, like this isn't where this belongs, and this needs to go here, and I don't have this, and I don't have that, and I've got to get this, and I've got to get that. And I felt like I was like kind of just like this like spinning like mess of anxiousness. And then my friend invited me to this sound bath meditation, and I almost like didn't even want to go, because I just felt like my mind was in too much of like this chaotic state. And I was like, okay, that's exactly why you need to go. So I went, and I think I did have a lot on my mind. And so it was kind of hard for me to really like meditate, but it actually gave me a chance to just kind of be still for an hour and to kind of like slow down and like let my nervous system like regulate a little bit, which was incredibly helpful. But what was really great was after the meditation, I mean, there's a whole group of people. It was probably like 10 or 15, like, yeah, maybe like 12 or 15 people there in this group. And I mean, I had 2 friends there, but everyone else was like strangers. And so we were invited to, if anything came up that we felt called to share, like, go ahead. And I didn't personally share because I felt like I was just kind of like taking it all in. And finally, like, that was the first moment I was able to kind of like gather my thoughts and kind of like soothe myself after like the move. And so I kind of was just there to listen. And it was such a humble reminder that like, you are not the only person on this planet. And I felt like I needed, I felt like I really needed that reminder because we get like so caught up in our bullshit and like all the silly things that we think are important, and they are, and everything that you're going through is valid and part of your journey. But to hear other people's, thoughts and to share their experiences. I mean, someone was there. I try not to get emotional talking about other people and everything they shared, but I mean, a woman was there sharing like her and her husband were going through a really hard time and weren't even sure if they were going to stay together after, I think it was like 13 years of marriage. And then I know there was another guy there that shared he'd been struggling with addiction and staying sober. And then another woman there that had gone through a divorce and was out, was on the other side of it, but then found out she had cancer. And luckily at that point was cancer free, but was working through, kind of her healing journey. And then another woman that was there shared, she had been through something very traumatic and she felt like she kind of lost her like creative way and her creative drive. And that she kind of just like has boxed herself in and doesn't feel like safe, like opening up to people. And so it was just incredibly humbling. And I felt really blessed to be there in that space and to hear what all these other people were going through. Not because not because it made me feel like, oh, like my problems aren't important. Like I think that what anyone is going through is valid, and, everyone's pain, everyone experiences things differently and they carry their own pain and challenges and whatever the case may be. But it just made me realize that like, there's other humans out there and like, it reminded me I'm not alone. And then it also reminded me that there's other people out there like going through things, and like it's like they kind of needed this space, and it definitely seemed like being able to share like helped them along in their healing and their process. And it's like we need each other. So it's just kind of a reminder that like don't forget people are going through things, when you're out there and encountering people, and just to remember to like lead with love every day, and just like, how can you love yourself and how can you love and help other people? I think should be like the two questions we ask ourselves every day. Sorry. Every time I'm like, I want to record an episode and not cry. I just don't even think that's possible for me. Anyway. So that's what I've been doing. Oh my God, I just blew snot out of my nose. Okay, take a minute. I don't have any tissues, but I have some beige pillows. Yeah, so anyway, long story short, I was very thankful for the sound bath. I highly recommend if you're feeling anxious or stressed to slow down, and as hard as it may be, because your thoughts are literally racing and like causing your body to like want to move faster, slow down and breathe, and it'll kind of bring you back to a place of like where you really belong, like right, centered within yourself. And I kind of needed that because I was felt like I was getting a little out of control, like trying to get this place in order and like looking the way I want it to look and things like where it needs to be, and kind of forgetting like what's important, and just to appreciate, just even being here and being still and remembering like what really matters and all of that good stuff. So yeah, I'm not really sure what this episode was about, but you get it, and that's that. And I'm really looking forward to kind of getting myself more settled and in the swing of putting out more of these consistently, and trying to get some more interviews lined up with other people. And yeah, thanks for listening. Feel free to share this with somebody. If you know anyone that's moving or going through like a really big change in their life, maybe reach out to them, send them some love, give them a hug. It is not easy going through change, and having support really helps. So thank you, and have a great day. All right, bye.